Well, that was an interesting affair that we just finished. I just finished doing a fanfic writing process on YouTube for MMPR 63, and it just kind of died, like, towards the end. And I'm like, I got maybe 10 more minutes worth of writing. Might as well just quit. No real point in continuing. So I decided, I'll do more fanfic writing tomorrow, and I'll, since I've got about 10 minutes worth of left in this episode, just a Megazord fight and the resolution, and, do different drum tomorrow as well. A lot better than just having a 10-minute stream and all the drama trying to set it up on YouTube. So instead, I decided to pop over here, because we're going to pop into Dragon Age Origins. Now, granted, most of this episode is probably going to be me talking to my party and improving my relationship with them. However, I have installed a few new mods. And I will be producing a mod video for Dragon Age Origins relatively soon, now that I've got a feel for how you do all the mods. There's just a few other types of mods that I want to get the feel for as well, so I can do a more comprehensive video on the... Primarily, there's about 4 different processes involved in modding. Possibly only 3. Anyway, we will resume. Now, I haven't really done anything aside from go back to Soldier's Peak from the last video. That's literally all I did. Was I just walked out and went back to Soldier's Peak. Since that's where I was before, there's no travel time, nothing really happened. But I did install a couple of mods, and one of those mods is the Warden Commander Blade. It actually does a complete overhaul to the Warden Commander armor. It also does an overhaul to the Blood Dragon armor, which I just have in storage. And there's another mod I installed which gives new icons for all of these things. So I've got unique icons for that, and all that fun stuff. Since I am over in this area, I'll go over to party storage.
Yes.
So let's see. You can see here's the Usurus sword. The Warden Commander Warblade, a twin version. The Blood Dragon Greatsword. And here's the alternate version of the Warden Commander armor, as you can see. Tier 9 armor. Now, the only reason I don't have it is because, one, it requires 52 strength, but I don't have. Similarly, the redone Blood Dragon armor is similar, requiring like 52 strength. But I can just buy that back. I basically threw a bunch of stuff in here, so I'm down to 10 weight. That's about the long and the short of that. So I've freed up my weight quite a bit. And we're gonna pop over here. Talk to Mikhail Drayden.
You? You're the Warden? My family owes you. Any weapons I make, I will sell you for a discount.
In my travels, I found this strange metal in a crater.
This is star metal. If you give this to me, I will craft for you a thing of legend.
How much will it cost me?
Nothing. My family owes you much.
I've got a lot of longsword wielders. I can give this to, like, Alistair, so I'll go with that.
And so it shall be. It is done. I call this blade Starfang. May it serve you well. I must rest after my exertions. Warden?
And while I'm here, why don't I grab... Nope, not that. My old sword. Start kitting out my crew with those various things.
I have been studying Mother's grimoire. Do you wish to hear what I have found?
Oh yes, and I also put it in armor that made the armors more practical and less revealing. And I also gave her different armor. I think I did that last time. Sure.
'Tis not what I expected. I had hoped for a collection of her spells, a map of the power that she commands. But this is not it.
Yet you look disturbed.
Disturbed? Yes, perhaps that is the right word. One thing in particular within her writings disturbs me. Here, in great detail, Flemeth explains the means by which she has survived for centuries.
Let me guess, she drinks blood, eats children.
That is closer to the truth than you might think. Flemeth has raised many daughters over her long lifetime. There are stories of these many witches of the wilds throughout Chastened legend, yet I have never seen a one, and always wondered why not. And now I know. They are all Flemeth. When her body becomes old and wizened, she raises a daughter, and when the time is right, she takes her daughter's body for her own.
So why would she risk sending you with me?
I do not know. Perhaps 'tis as she said, the Darkspawn threaten her as much as they threaten anyone else. Or perhaps she believes that this journey will make me more powerful. According to the tome, if the host is already powerful and trained in magic, it takes far less time for Flemeth to settle in.
And you had no idea? So if you died, she would have another daughter?
Not by any natural means. Perhaps I should take this as a vote of confidence from her on my capabilities. Or perhaps she simply wished me gone from the Korcari wilds, so she could prepare her ritual in peace. A disturbing thought.
Are you absolutely certain about this?
Indeed. That is primarily what this tome details. The various daughters that Flemeth has acquired, their preparation and training. I recognize all of it. I am to be her next host. This is my purpose.
And you had no idea. I'm so sorry.
Do not be sorry. I am not. I am angry. There is only one possible response to this. Flemeth needs to die. I will not sit about like an empty sack waiting to be filled. Flemeth must be slain, and I need your help to do it.
Perhaps you should talk to her about it first?
And what would that do? At best, I would receive pointless reassurances. At worst, Flemeth would imprison me once she became aware I know what I do. I know my mother well enough to be confident she would show no mercy when it came to her own survival. I must do the same.
It seems like killing Flemeth might be a bit extreme.
It may seem so. If you think of Flemeth as a mother, Think of her instead as an ancient abomination that intends to use her own flesh and blood to extend her life beyond all natural limits. She did not wish anyone to get a hold of this information, least of all me. Now I have. If I do not act on what I know, then more the fool am I.
Well, obviously she just feels like she'd have a better chance with aid. I'll help you, if I can.
Then what needs to be done is for you to go back to Flemeth's hut in the Kakari Wilds without me. If I am present when she is slain, I cannot be certain that she will not be able to possess my body right then, so I must remain at the camp. Confront her and slay her quickly. I doubt she will truly be dead even then, but it will take her years to find a new host and recover her power, if that is even possible. The thing I must have is her true grimoire. With it, I can defend against her power in the future. Everything else in her hut is yours.
Is there a time limit on this?
Not really, but the sooner the better, no?
I'll see what I can do.
I am grateful. The sooner this can be done, the sooner it will set my mind at ease.
Oh, I'm already talking to her. Let's see if there's anything else I can talk to her about, I suppose. Borrowed long sword. Can I give you anything? I can give you the Oathkeeper. That's kind of crap. Chance to avoid missile attacks. Tier 3. Tier 3. Ah, you can keep the mace. Give you a long sword. Something. Seriously, Sten cannot carry that. Nah. Guess I can hang on to him. It's not too bad. At least someone can carry one of them. Gives me some options.
What do you wish of me?
I'd like to discuss something personal.
We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
Why are you still here?
Because I need your help with my mother, of course. Why else? Why? Do you wish me to leave? I can do so if you prefer.
Do you want... no, I don't want you to leave.
Then I assume our discussion...
That was a stupid move of me. Don't even know why I did it.
What do you wish of me? If you must.
How did you become a shape changer?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
But it's just a legend, right?
So I assume. My mother has walked the wilds far longer than I. Who am I to suggest what things she has done and not done in her past? Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can you change into other human forms as well?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will, but the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. If you had a notion to learn such a skill for yourself, sadly, you must remain disappointed.
Did you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed.
Well, I was a
My
rat for a
life is
time.
as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
What do other animals think of you when you're changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
I've never heard of magic like this before.
No, 'tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could. But as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
Isn't that sort of magic open to abuse? No. Such traditions need to be preserved.
I am surprised you think so. Still, 'tis a pleasant thing to hear.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
You tied to a flagpole and tickled.
I wouldn't advise it. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
At least you thought my sense of humor was funny.
What do you wish of me? If you must.
Did you grow up in the Kokori Wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
Could if you wanted to.
Oh, what luck. What is it you asked? If I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
And you kept going back?
Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Were you hurt?
Was I hurt? What manner of simpering weakling do you take me for? Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be travelling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped
Also, you
and
might
began
notice the whiter
shouting in his
teeth.
strange
Yes, it's a
language.
mod.
Most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
What happened? That was some quick thinking, I suppose.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
I have no idea. I'm not human.
Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Well, I'm glad it worked out this way then, at least.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat in the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes? What do you wish of me? If you must.
Have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
And you're cute when you're evasive.
Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
So you found it fun?
I found the game fun. I was too young to understand the truth behind what was happening. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Surely more would have followed.
Sometimes. Eventually. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
What exactly is an apostate?
You do not know? The Zealots use that word for any magic they do not control. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates. And apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
I suppose I agree.
Oh? I hope you're not simply being agreeable. It would be a refreshing change. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand. What do you wish of me?
I've been sorely
must.
lacking talking with you. That's what I wish of you. Is Flemeth really who she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
A powerful maleficiar.
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother. to frighten them into obedience.
I'm more interested in the truth.
I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
Go on.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Not true then?
No, quite true, but this part only. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conobar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conobar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conobar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
Flemeth must have been angry, because I know that when that happened to me in the opening 4 episodes ago, I was...
Life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conobar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
So she truly loved Osen then.
That was not the point. Conobar had no honor, so she would not have him. Flemeth begged the spirits to aid her, and 'twas they who slew Conobar. The demon the legend tells of came later. Lord Conobar's allies chased Flemeth, you see. Chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Even my people... what? So which? She never invaded, or he never invaded her?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Well, we know how she survived for so long. Do you believe her version?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
So aren't abominations usually insane horrors?
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
So, she had many daughters, right?
You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Yeah, Song Presses should still work. Nightbot should still be working with Auto DJ. Why would you refuse to speak to them? I think we know.
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
So, is that how we presume she survived this long?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
An interesting story. Thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
Pull up to the club and go up. Make your girl fall in love when I show up.
My mother died when I was born.
Ah, then you have my sympathies for what it is worth. Which is very little, I am certain. It matters not. Let us move on.
And that's facts, go print 'em. Cold nigga turn the summer to the winter. She saved me in her phone at bestie, but I had her scream, oh. Yo, girl, wasn't supposed to text me. You wanna know how I know what I know?
It's been a
called.
Come close to me. She ain't going home when she supposed to pay. I'm getting
Speak,
money
then.
like I'm supposed to pay. I'm getting money like
suggest
I'm
we
supposed
move
to
on.
pay. Oh, all my
I am
niggas close
hardly
to me.
surprised.
And all the mother nigga where they supposed to pay. Oh, the house go
Did you
for
find
me.
Ferelden very
Chicks
strange?
To put it lightly,
close to me.
no one has a place here.
It's how I'm
Our
supposed to
farmers wish to be merchants.
I think we've had this
Merchants dream of
conversation.
being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are. Well,
Got your girl in my section finna go up. A nigga
As you
smoking
wish.
loud, I'm about to roll up.
I played the Fallout series.
Like this, with a guy like this.
I've actually heavily modded the Fallout series and Skyrim. I'm just taking a break from both Skyrim and Fallout because heavily modding them is a lot more of a pain in the ass than heavily modding Dragon Age.
If y'all do come close to me, he gon' wanna ride off and it goes for me. I'll make him do it. I might let your boy show for me, but he gotta eat the booty like groceries. But he gotta get rid of these toes for me. I might head
Oh, you guys might enjoy this. One of the newest mods I installed is this.
If he wants me to expose the freak, ooh, that's how it's supposed to be. Ooh, that's how
Ask Leanna to play something lively. Also, random doors. I feel like that for a mod. Nani? Who are you?
The Circle of Magi stands ready to assist, Grey Warden, as do the Templars of the Chantry.
Do you have any messages for me? Think of you when we consider it. Okay.
Yes? What can I do for you?
I want to ask you a question about the past.
Of course.
I have nothing to ask.
I'll be here when you do then. Yes? What can I do for you?
Just to ask you a question about what happened.
Of course.
What happened at the
Maker
castle?
knows we were all caught by surprise. Hal had been on good terms with the family for years. Nobody suspected anything. The soldiers arrived in the morning as planned to march to battle, but they attacked us instead. I tried so hard to save the castle and everyone in it. I could not.
Thank you for sharing. Let us get going then.
Yes? What can I do for you?
I want to keep asking you
Of
about what
course.
happened. What happened to the people?
This is hard for me. I have never seen such little mercy towards the fallen. When
I
we
know
were
we've-
dragged
I think
the
we've had
Arls,
this conversation
many
before.
of the surviving women were brutally beaten and raped by the soldiers. Yes? What can I do for you?
Tell me about yourself, Roland.
Well, I've served in Cousland Castle for years, since my own father sent me to squire there. My father is a minor lord in the Bannorn, but our land is little more than a glorified farmstead. I do miss it, though. The valleys of the Bannorn are beautiful this time of year. I took great pride in serving the town, and I wanted to become a general in the army. Still, if I had the opportunity to join the Grey Wardens, I wouldn't hesitate.
You would leave the army for the... I know I've had this
I
conversation
imagine
before.
joining the ward.
Yep, we definitely had that conversation before. So I've talked to him about as much as I can. I've talked to Sten. I've talked to Morgana as much as I can. Let's talk to, I guess, Liliana. Work our way around. We'll do Liliana, Alistair, Zev, and Wynn.
Did you always live in an alienage? Was it very terrible?
I had my family. They were enjoying that there too.
That is good to hear. I have never been to the Denerim alienage, but I hear that life is hard and there is so much squalor. In Orlais, most Alvan servants live in the homes of their masters, often in great wealth and luxury.
I bet some are treated cruelly, like dogs.
Yes, but some humans are treated cruelly too. It is not just elves. A well-trained elven servant is highly valued in Orlais. They are nimble and dexterous, and many people find them pleasing to look at.
So I should offer myself to some Orlesian noble.
No, I did not mean it that way. Oh, my words were clumsily chosen. I did not mean to offend. I am sorry.
I may be an elf, but I'm more than that. I am a person.
Of course. I am sorry if I implied otherwise. Thank you. You have given me a lot to think about. Have I ever told you I really like the way you wear your hair?
Yeah, let's go with that. Really? It's so stubborn sometimes.
It's very nice and it suits you. Simple. Not like the elaborate hairstyles we wore in Orlais. They involved flowers, ribbons, jewels. One year, feathers were all the rage, and Lady Elise decided she needed to outdo everyone else, and actually wore live songbirds in her voluminous hair. The chirping was quite charming for a while, but you must realize, terrified little birdies often have loose bowels.
Dear Maker!
Yes, you can imagine what she looked like by the end of the evening. But I was trying to say something nice to you, wasn't I? Oh, forgive me. My mind wanders so. It's just that I feel so comfortable talking to you. Like I could say anything and you wouldn't judge me.
Well, we are friends, aren't we?
Yes, very much so. I haven't felt this close to anyone in a long time. I really enjoy your company.
Alright, enough of that. Let's talk about my hair some more. You're a treasured friend, Lilian.
Thank you. I am honored that you feel that way.
Something I can help with?
I think you should know.
Yes?
I want to
What's on your mind?
I've been trying to get to know all my crew better. So why'd you decide to come to Ferelden?
My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orlais and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it.
Was she not happy in Orlais?
She wasn't unhappy. We had a good life, and she liked Orlais well enough. I loved it, though. Val Royeaux was so vibrant, colorful. Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother.
You were young, it's understandable. I barely remember my own mother.
Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dried flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andrastis Grace. They were very rare in Orlais. But enough about that. Let us move on. Something I can help with? Yes? What's on your mind?
Do you miss anything about Orlais?
I miss Val Royeaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Val Royeaux was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Val Royeaux, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the Grand Cathedral. It was magnificent.
I've never been there.
If you get the chance, you should see it, at least Val Royeaux. Of course there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais.
What sort of things?
Dresses, fine dresses and furs, and shoes, of course. One can't mingle with nobility with bad shoes, you see. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes! Living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes.
What was so special about the shoes?
Well, they're shoes. They're pretty. Some of them anyway. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front. A ribbon, perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring.
Let's be practical because, we came from a poor neighborhood. Must have cost a lot of gold.
Yes, well, a fair amount. It is so frivolous and wasteful, I know, but I have such a weakness for lovely shoes. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we? Something I can help with? Yes? What's on your mind?
Do you have tales? You were traveling minstrel. Do you have tales to share?
Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think.
What can you tell me of Darkspawn?
Chantry lore says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world
I know we've heard this one
in
before.
their pride, they thought their magics invincible. So thinking, any land that was touched by the taint
Let's try
became
this
blighted.
one.
Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of Aveline, the Knight of Orlais.
That sounds interesting.
A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who took pity on the poor mewling thing and raised her as their own. Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield the sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot.
Continue.
Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the grand tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the grand tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on and was not discovered.
Did she win?
Aveline won many events and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the grand melee. Aveline had already bested him in the joust, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat.
I was hoping for a happy ending.
The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Orlais so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death. And to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier.
Do you know any Ferelden legends? Sure.
I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard of Flemeth?
I met a Flemeth in the Kokari Wilds.
Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mists?
She didn't really introduce herself as such.
Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you.
Tell me the whole story.
Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari Wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Othin to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Othin entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Othin was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she took to her side many chastened men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Korcari wilds. Which one?
You know of Andraste, you know anything about the Dalish? Do you know anything about the Dalish?
I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in a land of their own.
Didn't last, I take it?
The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of the elven gods and would allow the building of no chantry. This angered the chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out in open war. The chantry says the elves struck first, but I do not know whether to believe it. The chantry declared a wholly exalted march against the elves, named for Andraste's similar march against Tevinter. During the exalted march of the Dales, the elven cities were sacked, and the elven state completely dissolved. Some of the elves bitterly accepted their fates and surrendered to human rule, living in the human cities as second-class citizens.
Yes, I'm well
But
aware of
others,
that.
still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the humans, and instead became homeless wanderers. They were the elves of the Dales, the Dalish.
What do you know about Andraste?
Andraste was the Maker's chosen. The Maker had long since abandoned the world when the sound of her singing turned his ear. Beauty, grace, and wisdom enraptured him, and he offered to take her from this flawed world to become his divine bride. But Andraste had an earthly husband and would not forsake him. Instead, she beseeched the Maker to return to his people once more. So earnest was her plea that the Maker was moved, and promised that he would create a paradise on earth if all abandoned their false gods and turned once more to him. And this is why Andraste began her exalted march on the idolaters of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker granted her his powers with which to smite her enemies. Andraste brought the Imperium to its knees, and her victories converted many to the worship of the Maker.
How did she die?
Alas, it was the frailties of men that betrayed and killed Andraste. Her earthly husband, Maferath, a chieftain of the Alamari tribes himself, grew jealous as his wife's popularity and influence overshadowed his own. She was also revered as the Maker's betrothed, and Maferath began to see their own bond waning in significance as Andraste became ever more devoted to the Maker. Out of envy and spite, Maferath made a pact with the Archon Hysarian of Tevinter, allowing his beloved Andraste to be ambushed and captured. Andraste was burned at the stake in Minrathous, the capital of Tevinter.
But the Tevinter has a chantry, doesn't it?
The Tevinter chantry claims that in Andraste's last moments, Hysarian's heart softened, and he heard the voice of the Maker telling him to end her suffering. He plunged his sword into her heart, and as her blood washed over his hands, he became one of the faithful. Dissenters said that the Archon only converted because he could not stem the tide of Andrastes' cult, and was forced to do so to stay in power. We will never know for sure.
Now, the one thing that really bothers me about the story about the warrior lady is that we were told way back when by, what was his name start with? Delvin, something like that. The guy who recruited us. But the very first Grey Warden was a woman. So one of these things is not like the other. The very first Grey Warden, who were highly respected in the world of Dragon Age Origins, was a woman. Then why would it matter? Really? This little sexism subplot that they have in this game just doesn't make sense when you consider that one of the most respected guilds in the game was founded by a woman. So how do those two resolve each other? Ah well. Game gonna be game. Alright, so we talked to that person, that person, that person. I guess we'll talk over to you.
Oh, it's been a long day. Rest would be welcome.
Are you alright?
Yes, of course. I am just a little weary. As you may have noticed, I'm no spring chicken.
You're very sprightly for your age, though.
Thank you. You're very kind to say so. But in all honesty, I do not know how many years I have left in me. I have lived for such a long time, but there is always something else to do. And I have to keep going in order to do it. I think I will be glad when I am done.
I'm sure you'll be kicking around for years yet.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't. Have you encountered many abominations, apart from the ones in the Circle Tower?
Well, there was Connor.
Ah, yes, Connor, of course. The first time I saw an abomination, my blood turned to ice. It was months before the nightmares stopped. It was the knowledge that I could easily become one of them that frightened me the most.
You're too great a mage to become an abomination.
Every mage is vulnerable, no matter how accomplished or powerful. That is the first thing we learn, and overconfidence can lead to recklessness. One slip. All it takes is one slip, and everything you are is simply gone, replaced by madness. And there is no turning back, or at least that's what they say.
You have your doubts?
Of late, I have begun to wonder if there is any way an abomination can be cured, or if a mage could be so possessed and still retain their sanity, their humanity.
If one retains one's humanity, one is not an abomination.
Yes. It is madness and cruelty that define abominations. If those are lacking, if the mage remembers the person they truly are, then they are not an abomination. I never saw that. Thank you for showing me another way of looking at it. So, tell me, how did you become a Grey Warden?
Duncan took me from the alien age and saved me from prison.
Ah, I see. Do you mind if I ask what you did?
I killed the Arl's son for hurting my friends and my family.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should not have brought it up. It must be an unhappy memory.
bastard deserved it. I'd kill him again. I'd kill him all over again if I could.
You say that with such cold satisfaction that it frightens me. But I can see no fault in your actions. I would have done the same. It sickens and saddens me to hear what men in power inflict on those who they ought to serve and protect. I have heard stories that some Templars who hunt Maleficarum do not end the hunt with a clean death, that they subject the victim to countless abuses and indignities before they finish it. But this is just a rumor. Regardless of what happened in your past, I am glad you found a place with the Wardens, as I'm sure you are too.
I just hope that I can show the strength Duncan saw in me.
Sometimes it gives me comfort to think that everything will end up the way it's supposed to. That it will be all right. You were chosen. You survived the joining when others did not. Perhaps it was meant to be.
She doesn't really want to talk about herself too much, does she? She wants to talk about me.
What does being a Grey Warden mean to you?
Show me some respect. I suppose it's about killing as many Darkspawn as possible.
There's that, of course. But there's more to being a Grey Warden than killing Darkspawn and saving the world from the Blight. Ultimately, being a Grey Warden is about serving others. About serving all people, whether elves or dwarves or men.
I don't quite understand.
As a Grey Warden, you are a guardian of men, and you guard them because their continued existence is more important than you are. Thus it is you who serves, not they.
I suppose that makes sense.
A good king, a true king who cares for his land, uses his power to rule firmly but fairly. He serves his people first and foremost. The king who does not do this, who believes that he is entitled to his power, who abuses it and uses it for his own means, is a tyrant.
I don't want power. Never wanted it.
If you live apart from others, and your actions affect only you, then you may do as you wish. But if you have power, influence, and strength, your every action will be as a drop of water in a clear, still pond. The drop causes ripples, and ripples spread. Think of how far they will go, how wide they will become, how will they affect the pond. But I've lectured enough for today. I should stop before I wear out my welcome.
Come on, I want to learn more about
What's
wind.
on your mind?
Are you feeling better now?
Oh, yes, and thank you for asking. I'm feeling much better today.
Let me know if there's anything I can do.
Well, thank you for your kindness, my dear. It certainly warms these rickety old bones. What's on your mind?
Then I want to ask about the circle.
I will answer to the best of my ability.
Why didn't you want to stay at the tower?
The circle is in good hands. Irving knows what to do, and he doesn't need me underfoot. For now, I will support those that battle the Darkspawn. I do feel I left things unfinished in Ostagar. There is so much left to do, and I would be part of it.
I'm glad for your company.
The Grey Wardens, all 2 of you, need all the help you can get. I will see this through to the bitter end, and after that, if I am still left standing, then I will return to the circle.
I'm sure you'll be able to return, if you so choose.
Perhaps. What's on your mind? I will answer to the best of my ability.
How'd you become a mage?
People don't become mages. They are born mages. The talent just surfaces later. But you are asking how I ended up at the Circle. I was brought there by the Templars, just like many of the other apprentices. I don't remember very much. I was very young then.
And your family?
I didn't have a family. I never knew my real parents. My earliest memory was of hiding in a hayloft on a farm, trying to keep warm. I was found, and the farmer's wife was kind enough not to send me away. But they had children of their own, and I was never made to feel welcome. The eldest son was the worst. He was always calling me a stray, and throwing anything he could get his hands on at me. And I don't know how it happened, but one day, he just found his hair on fire. Fortunately, there was a large trough nearby.
Oh, he only called you a stray. He didn't try to rape you and your friends and interrupt your wedding. So, yeah, serves him right.
He ran screaming, dripping head and all, to his mother. I was shut up in the barn with a bowl of water and a crust of hard bread. The Templars arrived several mornings later.
Were they mean to you?
One of them ignored me, but the other was kind to me. He gave me sweets and even sat me on his shoulders once when I wanted to look over a high wall that ran along the road. I'll never forget the moment the Templars led me into the entrance hall of the tower. I had never seen anything so grand in my life. I stopped being afraid then. I knew I was home.
A prettied up prison. That's a great story.
Well, that's about all there is to my tale. That's how I came to the Circle.
What was life like in the tower?
I would be lying if I said it was easy. First, there were rules, and we were constantly watched to make sure we behaved appropriately. Then there was the study of magic. We had to cast the spells just so, control the effects completely. A single word spoken incorrectly, a gesture out of sync, and lack of focus. And we needed to have perfect focus, or we would be in danger.
Danger from what?
From Fade spirits. If we were careless, they would enter our minds, and we would become abominations. Without the Circle and my mentors, I would not have been where I am today. And there was joy in life at the Circle. The joys of fellowship, in knowing that you were not alone in your struggles. Perhaps it was like your life in the alienage. The people outside may have shunned you, but you didn't care because you were surrounded by your kind, your family. We are not so different, you and I.
Wow, she is a tough
What's
cookie
on your mind?
to get to like.
I will answer to the best of my ability.
Nothing right now.
What's on your mind? Is something troubling you?
Everyone expects so much from me.
No one said it would be easy. You are one of the 2 surviving Grey Wardens in Ferelden. You defend all of us, and much rests on your shoulders. It may not mean much to you, but thank you for having the courage to continue to fight.
I don't give up easily.
And that gives me hope. Have you heard much about the Grey Wardens of old?
I know they were more respected in the old days.
It was said that watching the Wardens ride in on their white griffins was enough to rouse a weary heart and put the dance back in the step of an old man. The Grey Wardens were powerful, feared and respected, but they also inspired the common people. I remember a tale that was told to me many years ago.
Go on.
The Blight had ravaged the land for months, and the armies of the great kings had amassed for one last stand. As the sun burst through the clouds that boiled and churned in the dark sky above, it illuminated a vast, seething horde of darkspawn, with the archdemon at its head. And it was then, when courage seemed to fail, and all lost to death and despair, that the Grey Wardens came. They arrived with the beating of wings like mighty war drums, and stood before the armies of men.
Griffins?
Yes, griffins. Now listen to the rest of the story. The Grey Wardens, grim and fearless, marched forth, ever between the men and the encroaching darkspawn. They formed a shield of their own bodies and held that line until the archdemon was dead, and the last darkspawn lay trampled in the dirt. And then, demanding neither reward nor recognition for their sacrifice, the Grey Wardens departed. When the clouds finally rolled back, and the sun shone full upon the blighted ground, the great kings knew that they had lost no men, and none of their blood had been spilled.
When did this happen?
This is a tale about no battle the Grey Wardens have fought, and yet about them all. They have always defended us from the Darkspawn, taking losses so we do not have to. People may have forgotten over the centuries, but nothing has changed. This knowledge has been blessing and burden to Grey Wardens past, and now it shall be your blessing and your burden. What's on your mind?
As a Grey Warden, I'll never lead a normal life, will I?
No, you won't.
I already knew that answer. Don't know why I asked.
Because you were not looking for the answer, but for someone to tell you that in spite of it, you'll be all right. You wonder sometimes, don't you? If your life would be better if you weren't who you are.
A little.
When I was a young woman in the tower, I came to the realization that the circle would be my life, and I would know no other. Family, love, a simple life. These were things that others took for granted, that I would never have.
The grass is always greener on the other side.
It made me very moody. All I could think of was being trapped in that tower with no way out and no end in sight. I started hating my life and myself, and one night I found myself in the tower's chapel. I was seeking refuge, maybe answers.
It's hard to imagine you as a moody youth.
Well, I was. Dreadfully morose. Surly. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes, the chapel. I must have looked tearful or made some noise, because the revered mother came out and decided to speak to me. And because I had no one else to talk to, I talked to her. I must have said many silly things, but she told me that the Maker puts us all on our paths for a reason, and fighting our intended course is what causes so much anguish.
And that made you feel better?
I thought the old biddy was full of rubbish. I was 15, maybe 16, and I knew everything. So I left, but I always found my way back to that chapel. And as the years passed, I began to see the truth of her words. We were supposed to be polar opposites, mage and priest. But we weren't. There was much about us that was the same.
I suppose priests have to give up a lot.
The revered mother had lived in the chantry all her life, as I had been in the tower for all of mine. She taught me that you can find your family in the people around you, that you can love your work and find fulfillment in duty, and there is joy even in self-sacrifice. If you put others before yourself, then their well-being is yours, and their happiness is your happiness.
It wouldn't be easy to live that way.
You can scream and cry and be angry about life as a Grey Warden. Or you can accept it and allow yourself to see the good in it. This is your choice. What's on your mind?
Nothing.
It is no trouble.
Let's see. We've got the new guy. And we've got Alistair left. Let's see how we're doing. Well, Alistair obviously is not going to have much of a change. Liliana is at 41. Okay. Wynn's at 46. My dog loves me unconditionally. Morgana's actually warm to me for once. Roland's neutral. Sten is warm to me. Zev, neutral. And I'm apparently warm to me.
Here I am.
I want to discuss something personal.
Oh, this should be good. What would you like to discuss?
Never mind. Apparently.
Here I am.
Can you answer some questions?
Oh, this should be good. Go ahead.
What does it take to become an assassin?
Well, the Crows would have you believe that it is an involved process that takes years of training. The sort that tests both your resolve and your endurance. Survive that process and maybe, just maybe, you're good enough to start being considered one of them. But quite frankly, the truth is that all it requires is a desire to kill people for a living. It's surprising how well one can do in such a field.
No special skills?
I don't know about that. It's simply a slightly different skill set from your average killer as I see it. An assassin simply specializes in striking from stealth, and in maximizing that first attack to be as lethal as possible. Debilitate your foe, either by poison or by crippling their limbs, makes any follow-up combat you need to engage in that much simpler.
You always use poison then?
I do. It is not something inherent in an assassin's skills, however, merely something complementary. Of course, the Crows like to pretend that their abilities are trade secrets, shrouded in shadows and wrapped in a blanket of mystery. So let's just keep this between you and me, shall we? Here I am. Oh, this should be good. Go ahead.
Why'd you want to leave the Crows exactly?
Well now, I imagine that's a very fair question. Being an assassin, after all, is a living, at least as far as such things go. I was simply never given the opportunity to choose another way. So, if that choice presents itself, why should I not seize upon it?
What would you rather do?
Now that you mention it, I am not entirely certain. I was but a boy of 7 when I was purchased. For 3 sovereigns, I'm told. Which is a good price, considering I was all ribs and bone and didn't know the pommel of a dagger from the pointy end. The Crows buy all their assassins that way. Buy them young, raise them to know nothing else but murder. And if you do poorly in your training, you die.
That sounds
Oh,
awful!
I don't know about that. The Crows who are actually good enough to survive come to enjoy some of the benefits. In Antiva, being a Crow gets you respect. It gets you wealth. Gets you women. And men. Or whatever it is you might fancy. But that does not mean doing what is expected of you always. And it means being expendable. It's a cage, if a gilded cage. Pretty, but confining.
What is it that you fancy exactly?
I fancy many things. I fancy things that are beautiful, and things that are strong. I fancy things that are dangerous and exciting. Would you be offended if I said I fancied you?
Not at all.
This is good to know. As for what I'll do in the future, presuming that there is one, I truly can't imagine. It might be interesting to go into business for myself, for a change. Far away from Antiva, of course. For now, naturally, I go where you go.
Well, I'm happy to have you along.
And here I am, happy to be had. Isn't it wonderful how things work out that way? Come now, enough chit-chat. Talking about the crows summons them, you know. Any Antivan fishwife could tell you so. All right, but I get to stare at you luridly while you do so.
Tell me about Antiva.
Oh, you wish to know about Antiva, do you? The only way to truly appreciate it would be to go there. It is a warm place, not cold and harsh like this Ferelden.
For Skyrim.
In Antiva it rains often, but the flowers are always in bloom. Or so the saying goes.
Don't you want to go back?
It's not really a matter of wanting to go back. I cannot go. At least not yet. I hail from the glorious Antiva city, home to the royal palace. It is a glittering gem amidst the sand, my Antiva city. Do you come from someplace comparable?
Denerim.
And it's a fine enough city, I suppose? Though it rather looks like someone spilled all the houses on top of a mountain and called it home, no? You know what is most odd? We speak of my homeland, and for all its wine and its dark-haired beauties and the lilo flutes of the minstrels, I miss the leather the most.
Oh, this I have to hear.
I mean the smell. For years, I lived in a tiny apartment near Antiva City's leather-making district, in a building where the crows stored their youngest recruits, packed in like crates. I grew accustomed to the stench, even though the humans complained of it constantly. To this day, the smell of fresh leather is what reminds me most of home more than anything else.
Sound like you've been away from home forever.
Oh, not so long, I know. It is my first time away from Antiva, however, and the thought of never returning makes me think of it constantly. Before I left, I was tempted to spend what little coin I possessed on leather boots I spotted in a store window. Finest Antivan leather, perfect craftsmanship. But I was a fool to leave them. I thought, Zevran, you can buy them when you return as a reward for a job well done. More the fool I, no?
No Antivan boots for you! No. Your home is still there, Zev.
True, and it's a comforting thought. One simply never knows what is to come next. How could I have suspected I would end up defeated by a beautiful Grey Warden, a woman who then spares my life? I could not.
Now you're just flattering me.
I say you are beautiful because it is true. Should I not?
No, go on, by all means.
And glad I am to hear it. Now, if it is all the same to you, I would prefer not to speak more of Antiva. It makes me wistful and hungry for a proper meal. I've a question, if I may.
Go on.
Well, here's the thing. I swore an oath to serve you, yes? And I understand the quest you're on, and this is all very fine and well. My question pertains to what you intend to do with me once this business is over with, as a point of curiosity.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Of course it is afterwards. The ravishing part is a given. One simply assumes that once your Grey Warden business is finished, you would have no need of an assassin to follow you about. Am I wrong?
I could always use a friend.
Oh, not more than friends?
We'll have to see, won't we?
Indeed we shall. It is good to know what my options might be, but that is for another time. For now, we have much to do, yes? Alright, but I get to stare at you luridly while you do so.
Do you actually enjoy being an assassin?
And why not? There are many things to enjoy about being a crow in Antiva. You are respected, you are feared, the authorities go out of their way to overlook your trespasses, even the rewards are nothing to turn your nose up at. As for the killing part, well, some people simply need assassinating. Or do you disagree?
No, you're probably right.
I often find myself the instrument of fate, ending these lives for one necessity or another. I console myself with the notion that most of that is coming. As far as enjoying the act of killing itself, why not? There is a certain artistry to the deed, the pleasure of sinking your blade into their flesh and knowing that their life is in your hands.
I know what you mean.
There are many things I did not enjoy about being a crow, of course. Having no choice, being treated as an expendable commodity, the rules, oh, so many rules. But simply being an assassin, I like it just fine. I will continue to do it if I can, even if I am not a crow. Honestly, could you picture me doing something else?
Why not? You can do whatever you like.
Whereas I am content merely doing what I happen to be good at. It's a talent that not many come by honestly. I don't see why I need not pursue it. Of course, all these thoughts are moot. Chances are still good that you and I will perish, eaten by darkspawn or slain by the crows at some point. Very gruesomely, I imagine. But it is pleasant enough to chat about. Come, let's move on while our boots still have some wear in them. Alright, but I get to stare at you luridly while you do so.
But tell me about your adventures.
My adventures? I'm hardly an old man just returned from across the ocean, am I? Should I shake my fist at nearby children while I talk about the good old days?
You certainly talk like you've had adventures.
Falling down a flight of stairs is an adventure. Falling into someone's bed, also an adventure. I am assuming what you're looking for are professional anecdotes. Let's see, my second mission ever for the Crows was a bit intriguing. I was sent to kill a mage who had been meddling in politics.
On your second mission?
Well, it was just the one mage. Not as simple a mission as the vagrant Grey Warden or two, perhaps. As it turned out, the mage in question was quite a delightful young woman. Long, divine legs, as I recall. I caught her in a carriage on her way to escape to the provinces. After I killed her guard, she got down on her hands and knees and begged for her life. Rather aptly, I might add. So I joined her in the carriage for the night and left the next morning.
You used her? That's horrible!
On the contrary, it was she who used me. Or she tried to. The woman had actually convinced me to speak to the Crows on her behalf. What can I say? I was young and foolish at the time. Then, as I was kissing her goodbye to return to Antiva City, she slipped on the threshold and fell backwards out of the carriage. Broke her neck. Shame, really, but at least it happened quickly.
That's terrible.
Then I found out that she had told the driver to take her to Janellen instead. She had planned to lose me in the provinces. I would have looked very foolish to the Crows. As it was, my master was very impressed that I had done such a fine job of making it look like an accident. The Circle of Magi was unaware of foul play, and everyone was happier all around.
Do these sorts of things happen to you often?
Like being spared by a benevolent Mark who then helps me escape from the Crows? Yes, it does seem to happen now and again, doesn't it? It was after that when I learned that one needn't let a pretty face go to your head. Professionalism was key. That's my moral of the day, you see.
You're a terrible, a wise lesson to learn.
And one that not everyone learns, I'm sad to say. But that's enough tale spinning from me for the moment. Talking about the mage has made me a bit nostalgic, I'm afraid. Ah, the good old days.
Oh, he disapproves.
And I'm off.
And that was a completely wrong button to press.
Alright, but I get to stare at you luridly while you do so. Again. Well now, what might interest you, I wonder? Shall I describe the stages involved with Lanthrax poisoning? I watched a man go through all 7 once.
Sure.
No, I'll not inflict that upon you just yet. Let's see, how about the largest battle I ever took part in? That would have been the slaughter of Prince Azrin. Did you hear of that down in these parts?
I doubt it.
Prince Azrin was 4th in line to the throne, you see. He started off as 11th, but worked his way up the old-fashioned method by inheriting control of an entire Crocel from his grandfather. After assassinating his way through the royal family, the king hired 3 other cells to take down Prince Azrin once and for all. I was in one of those cells.
Is this sort of thing common in Antiva?
Antivan royalty is very much bound up in the Crows. You wouldn't want it run by a bunch of commoners, after all, would you? And this means they get involved in politics quite often. This particular fight nearly bankrupted the nation, I understand. It almost ended up putting a Crow on the throne, a commoner. But that's a whole different story. I played a very small part.
That seems like an odd way to run the country.
Antiva might seem a bit odd in that way to outsiders. We take it in stride, however. Assassins are simply part of the landscape, so to speak. My part in the entire battle was taken up trying to reach Princess Verina, who had thrown in with her brother. I killed about 11 of her guards personally before I got knocked out of a window. I landed in a river and nearly drowned. I was fished out by some urchins who robbed me blind. Made off with my boots, too. At least they didn't cut my throat. And that was my part in history.
You're very lucky indeed.
It's true. I live a charmed life. One of the prostitutes that raised me was a fortune teller. Said I wouldn't die young. She was rather startled by that. But there you go. Tale told. Let's be off before I tell more embarrassing stories, huh?
Oh, hell no. I'm gonna find out all your embarrassing stories.
Alright, but I get to stare at you luridly while you do so. Well, the only one that's really worth telling is the story of the mission right before I came to Ferelden. But no, I would rather not. I shouldn't have said anything.
Don't be a tease. Out with it!
Perhaps another day. I apologize.
Alright, fine.
Alright, but I get to stare at you luridly while you... Again? I'm game.
We need to end this. You must have quite a history with women, I mean.
This could be a sensitive topic, my dear lady. Are you sure you wish to voyage there?
That many, I take it?
As you wish. Let me start by saying that my history is varied, indeed. It has also not been restricted to women. Does that offend you?
Should it?
Perhaps. That is entirely up to you. I grew up amongst whores, my dear. Sex is best when done well, and truly, that is my only rule. Do I prefer women? Yes. Yes, I believe I do. But you must understand that a certain open-mindedness is sought by the Crows in their recruits, for very good reasons.
I think I understand.
This is a new path I am on now. It would be interesting to see where it leads. Already it has been many new things. I cannot change my past, obviously. I regret far more than the men and women I have been with, and if that is more than you can bear, well, then it is good we know now, yes?
It doesn't bother me.
You're a better person than most, I suspect. Ah, enough talk of the past. It is what lies ahead that is important, no? Again? I'm game.
Never mind. answer some questions. Want to discuss something personal?
All right, but I get to stare at you.
Nope. Let's see. Can you teach others to be an assassin?
I could teach others, but not yourself. First, I would need someone who has training as a rogue. That is, unless you would care to spend the years it takes to gain the fundamentals. But if there should be such a person who desires this training, yes, by all means, send them to me. The crows are already furious, no? I shall enjoy tweaking their nose further.
Is everyone set to auto level up? Not Zev. He's not set for auto leveling. And that's everyone with the exception of, well, my dog and Alistair here.
You know, maybe this isn't the best time to be thinking about this, but I've something to ask you. Chances are we'll be heading to Denerim soon. And when we're there, I wonder if we might be able to look someone up.
You have a friend outside the Grey Warden.
I'm not talking about a friend, exactly. And no, it's not that sort of friend either. The thing is, I have a sister, a half-sister. I told you about my mother, right? She was a servant at Redcliffe Castle and she had a daughter. Only, I never knew about her. I don't think she knew about me either. They kept my birth a secret after all. But, after I became a Grey Warden, I did some checking and, well, I found out she's still alive. In Denerim.
That's wonderful news.
She's the only real family I have left. The only family not also mixed up in the whole royal thing. I've just been thinking that maybe it's time I went to see her. With the blight coming and everything, I don't know if I'll ever get another chance to see her. Maybe I can help her. Warn her about the danger, I don't know.
If you want to, we can try.
Could we? I'd appreciate that. If something happened to her and I never went to at least see her, I don't know if I could forgive myself. Her name is Goldana, and I think she remarried but still lives just outside the alienage. If we're in the area, then, well, it's worth a look.
So Zev is interested in me. Which apparently is lower rank than Worm. Alright. Weird, but whatever.
Something on your mind?
I have some questions.
Of course.
I already asked about that. Tell me about the Grey Wardens. Tell me about the Grey Wardens.
Such as they are.
I have no more questions.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. Something on your mind? Of course.
So if you were raised in the Chantry, you've never...
Never what? Had a good pair of shoes?
You know what I mean.
I'm not sure I do. Have I never seen a basilisk? Ate jellied ham? Have I never licked a lamppost in winter?
Now you're making fun of me.
Make fun of you, dear lady? Perish the thought. Well, tell me, have you ever licked a lamppost in winter?
It's not what I meant, and you know it.
Oh, so that's what we're talking about. I admit I've never had a woman just come out and ask me like this, that's for sure. I, myself, never had the pleasure. Not that I haven't thought about it, of course. But, you know.
Never had the opportunity?
Well, living in the Chantry is not exactly a life for rambunctious boys. They taught me to be a gentleman, especially in the presence of beautiful women such as yourself. That's not so bad, is it?
Think I'm beautiful.
Did I say beautiful? Do you have any particular opinion on my saying that?
When you have a firm opinion, so will I.
Yes, of course. I see exactly what you mean. Enough. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's go. Something on your mind? Of course.
What changes about you after the joining?
You mean other than becoming a Grey Warden?
You've been a Grey Warden longer than I have, that's all I'm saying.
You know, I asked Duncan this too, and all I got was, "You'll see."
He wouldn't tell you?
Oh, it's not that Duncan wants to keep it a secret, it's just that the Grey Wardens don't discuss it much. I gather it's not a pleasant topic. The first change I noticed was an increase in appetite. I used to get up in the middle of the night and raid the castle larder. I thought I was starving. I'd slurp down every dinner like it was my last. My face all covered in gravy. When I'd look up, the other Grey Wardens would stare, then laugh themselves to tears.
I haven't felt anything like that.
Really? Because I was watching you wolf down food the other day, and I thought, ooh, it's a good thing she gets a lot of exercise.
What can I say? I'm a growing girl.
I'll say. I didn't mean it like that. No, don't hit me. I bruise easily. Oh, and then there were the nightmares. Duncan said it was part of how we sense the Darkspawn. We tap into their, well, I don't know what you call it, their group mind. And when we sleep, it's even worse. You learn to block it out after a while, but at first it's hard. It's supposed to be worse for those who join during a blight. How is it for you?
I've had some strange dreams.
Some people never have much trouble, but that's rare. Others have trouble sleeping their entire life. They're just more sensitive, I suppose. Everyone ends up the same, though.
He's a
Once
laugh
you reach a certain
riot
age,
the entire
real
time.
nightmares come. That's how a Grey Warden knows his time has come.
His time has come.
Oh, that's right. We never had time to tell you that part, did we? Well, in addition to all the other wonderful things about being a Grey Warden, you don't need to worry about dying from old age. You've got 30 years to live. Give or take.
Yes, he's completely adorkable.
It's a death sentence. Ultimately, your body won't be able to take it. When the time comes, most Grey Wardens go to Orzammar and die in battle rather than waiting. It's tradition.
Why Orzammar?
You'll always find Darkspawn down where the dwarves are. The oldest Grey Wardens head to the deep roads for one last glorious battle. Not that there's a shortage of Darkspawn during a blight, but that's the tradition. The dwarves respect us for it. And you wondered why we kept the joining a secret from the new recruits. There you have it.
Seems a high price to pay.
I suppose it is. We're the only ones who can stop the blight, however. Is there a price too high to pay for that? You know, Duncan, he started having the nightmares again. He told me that in private. He said it wouldn't be long before he'd go to Orzammar himself. I guess he got what he wanted. I just wish it had been something worthy of him.
He will remember it, Alistair, as will the others.
I know. Ending the blight should make this all worthwhile, right? Something on your mind? Of course.
What was it like to be a Grey Warden with all of the others?
I didn't know them for very long, but I guess it was longer than you. You never met them all, did you? They were quite a group. Actually, they felt like an extended family since we were all cut off from our former lives. We also laughed more than you'd think. There was this one time... Well, you probably don't want to hear stories about men you didn't know.
No, I want to hear about them.
There was one Grey Warden who came all the way from the Anderfels. What was his name? Gregor... He was a burly man with the biggest, fuzziest beard you've ever seen. And the man could drink. He drank all the time, but he never got drunk. Finally, we all made a pool to see just how many pints it would take to put him under the table.
Sounds like you had a lot
Sometimes.
of fun.
We were kin of a sort. All of us had gone through the joining, so we knew... Well, anyhow, it doesn't have to be deadly serious all the time. Anyhow, we never did find out. He said he'd drink a pint for every half pint that the rest of us drank. He was still going by the time the rest of us were passed out. I'm told that Duncan walked in later on and saw us all passed out from one end of the hall to the other, and Gregor still drinking. Duncan laughed until he nearly...
Great voice actor. I'm sorry. Must have been hard for you.
Yes, I suppose so. I thought I was done with this, but it just struck me that I have nothing to remember Duncan by. Nothing at all. There's no body, not even a token of his that I could take with me. That must sound really stupid to you.
You have your memories of him.
I just would have liked something of his to take with me, that's all. Well, there's no use in moaning about it, is there? He's gone. Let's just go. I'm wondering something. I'd like to know your thoughts about some of our traveling companions. Do you mind if I ask?
Go ahead. That's why I've been talking to him.
the elf. You can't trust him, can you? Do you believe his so-called vow?
Maybe. We'll see.
That's a lot to put on a maybe, isn't it? He's an assassin. The crows aren't known for giving up. Maybe he's just biding his time.
I'm willing to give him a chance.
Well, if you are, then maybe I should too. But that doesn't mean I won't keep an eye on him. He's just too shifty. What about Sten? The way he looks at me with those eyes. Creepy. And he's so quiet for someone so big.
I respect him.
The more I talk to him, the more reasonable he does seem. His philosophy is so strange. But it doesn't sound at all as vile as the Chantry describes it. And yet, he killed all those people. He doesn't even deny it. Doesn't that bother you?
He seems to regret what he did.
I'm not so sure that his regret means the same as it would for us. The Qunari sense of honor is... it's a bit hard to grasp. For me, anyway. What about Liliana? Is she crazy? Or do you really believe in her vision?
It could be true. Who's to say it isn't? We have nightmares.
Maybe you're right. It's not as if she could have known that we needed help so desperately after all. Yet, there she was. I don't know what to make of her. If you look at her when she doesn't see you, she just looks so sad. I almost feel guilty taking her away from her life.
It was her choice.
Yes, I know. Still, I feel badly for her. Morrigan, do you trust her? Think about it. Maybe Flemeth sent her with us for some other reason than she said.
You really don't like each other, do you?
Well, aside from the fact that she's a complete and utter bitch, no, I don't like her at all. Why, do you?
I like her just fine.
Great. I am thrilled beyond words. Now, really, enough. I think my curiosity is sated. Let's get back to it, shall we? Something on your mind? Of course.
I got the gray one. No.
Something on your mind?
Sure.
You do? What do you know? Wishes really do come true sometimes.
I hope you can forgive me.
How could I not? You're too pretty not to forgive. Consider it forgotten. Something on your mind?
Has anyone told you how handsome you are?
Not unless they were asking me for a favor. Well, there was that one time in Denerim, but those women were not like you. Why? Is this your way of telling me you think I'm handsome?
You know you're handsome, Alistair.
Maybe. It doesn't hurt to have a pretty girl say that, though. Beats being run through with a sword any day. So, is this the part where I get to say the same?
Unless you don't think so.
Oh, I think so. I'll just spring it on you when it's a surprise. Here, look at this. Do you know what this is?
A rose?
I picked it in Lothering. I remember thinking, how could something so beautiful exist in a place with so much despair and ugliness? I probably should have left it alone, but I couldn't. The Darkspawn would come and their taint would just destroy it. So I've had it ever since.
What do you intend to do with it?
I thought that I might give it to you, actually. In a lot of ways, I think the same thing.
Is that just because you have red hair? Feeling a little thorny, are we? Thank you, Alistair. It's a lovely thought.
I'm glad you like it. I was just thinking, here I am doing all this complaining, and you haven't exactly been having a good time of it yourself. You've had none of the good experience of being a Grey Warden since your joining. Not a word of thanks or congratulations. It's all been death and fighting and tragedy. I thought maybe I could say something. Tell you what a rare and wonderful thing you are to find amidst all this darkness.
So you give me a horny sentiment. I feel the same way about
I'm glad you like it. Now, if we could move right on past this awkward, embarrassing stage and get right to the steamy bits, I'd appreciate it.
Alright, fine.
Bluff called. Damn, she saw right through me.
Why must it be a bluff?
Well, it doesn't have to be a bluff. Well, I suppose we are in the camp. The tent's right over there. This is...
You're cute when you're bashful.
I'll be standing over here until the blushing stops. Just to be safe. You know how it is.
Thought so. It'd be a quest item.
Yes. Are you saying this is a dream? But it's so real.
Your makeup? Okay.
Are we going now? Wait, where are you going? What's happening to me? Hey!
You throw mascara, please.
This cannot continue. It is not fair to either of us, so I will make this decision for you.
Yes, I think so. I'm sure of it, in fact.
I'm not rushing the dialogue. I'm waiting till it finishes. Oh, get up if you can. We need to get moving. That was different. I have no idea what just happened, but that was different.
Yes?
That was interesting. That was different. I have no idea what that was, but it was amusing nonetheless. Invite Coral to my bed. Oh, good grief. Apparently I haven't impressed any of my companions enough to have an invite option. Must be one of my mods, but I'm not sure which one. Still, that was amusing, to say the least. Anything happened while I was gone? I need some rest. Can you keep an eye on things? The hell? Okay. Okay.
I am with you always.
Okay. Color me confused. Alrighty then. So, let's move on, shall we? Gather your party and venture forth. I'm going to take Alistair.
Yes.
Zev.
Yes.
And Liliana.
Indeed.
And we're gonna go confront Flemeth.
Oh, right. As you like. I tried to be merciful.